call to order the planning board meeting for Thursday, September 12th, 2024. Why don't we stand up and do a pledge of allegiance and get on with our meeting. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The first section of the meeting is board business. The first item on that is Planning Board Code of Conduct. Do we have something to vote on? Or are we waiting for more input?
So you had discussed Code of Conduct a couple meetings, made some updates. It's ready for the board to adopt.
Are we interested in adopting it?
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments and questions, just like to clarify.
Okay, sure.
So under community responsibility A, I think there's a "the" missing in front of planning board members, that the planning board members represent the community. I think the sentence just needs to be fixed just a little bit there. I don't, under 2B, whoops. I got the part, refer all complaints to the town planner, for resolution. I think that makes sense in terms of, handling, issues there. But I don't think I really followed what was meant by what follows the "and." Only pursue satisfactory results through the framework. So I'm not sure exactly what was meant by that part of the sentence. And I didn't know how to fix it.
So if I recall the discussion, well, some of the wording comes from, all the original wording came from the
Yeah,
select
no, that's what I mean. I think it looks
So-
like it didn't
right.
edit together correctly.
Okay.
So I don't, when you did the kind of the merged edit, what did you mean by to happen there? Because I just don't think the words reflect that.
So let's see, for complaints to me for solution, and then if I can't get to a satisfactory solution for you, then you would go to zoning enforcement for zoning issues, and town administrator for issues other than zoning.
So it's
Is there a
pursue
better way?
unsatisfactory results through the frameworks. I'm just trying to, the sentence doesn't parse right yet still, right? So pursue unsatisfactory results through the framework of zoning enforcement and or town administrator structure. And then I think it ends. I don't think the "if such solutions fail" needs to be in there.
That makes it better.
Yeah. So I did just tighten it up.
I think we know what it means, but it's still sort
Well,
of
it's
to go only pursue unsatisfactory results.
Well, I mean, if the results are satisfactorily resolved, I don't think there's any role for us to do anything.
Right.
But if the way it reads technically is if we're happy with the results, we pursue the enforcement office to do something, and it's just not quite.
Do you want to fix it now and then we can?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, because it's just a minor one there, and then I have one more there. So did you catch the edit on that?
I don't have live editing on this.
Yeah, no, I mean in terms of what you're typing on your.
So you'd like to add "on" to satisfactory,
Yeah.
and then just, and the sentence after zoning.
After town administrator,
Yep.
right. Because that's where, I guess, that would be our interface if we need to pursue things on it there. Okay. Just a thing, for documents like this, it might be easier to send the document file rather than the PDF, because I could only mark up the PDF. I couldn't, type the changes to send you the the things here. And the other one is under 3G. And then, let me see how to, something. Oh, I see, no, it's 3H, sorry. So it says not withhold pertinent information on municipal matters or personnel problems. However, personnel issues are kind of a separate matter, so I'm not sure, again, what exactly is meant by this piece here, right? I mean, if there's a issue with the personnel, we need to refer it through whatever the personnel management channels are, I think is what you mean there, right? But I'm not sure, not withhold pertinent information from other planning board members. Again, I think if there's a personnel issue, that one becomes really complex in terms of, is it a board personnel, an issue with staff and the,
This is.
personnel in the board
This is from the
interacting with the
issue
board,
of-
or the board member is concerned about a personnel issue, which is handled really kind of a separate thing. So I want to make sure that,
This
has to do with our
is,
conduct.
this is a select board, boilerplate, and I don't know how we would have a personnel problem. I mean, we're not really involved in that.
that's why I'm trying to understand what,
And so we either just, ignore it, or we strike it.
So, Mr. Chair, I think that could mean pertinent information on municipal matters. So if it's something related to one of the applications or one of the discussions that we're having, and then I would see personnel instead of personnel, or staff problems, if there are staff problems, because we do engage with town staff. So
Okay.
that's the way that I was reading
Oh,
it.
rather than personnel, say staff, because personnel does refer to like an HR
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
that's what I mean. Personnel problems, to me, was an HR issue, which really
Yeah,
becomes
which is
very
not.
privileged very quickly, and exchanging information on it may also be deemed inappropriate. So that's why I was trying to
Okay.
clarify what we really meant by that
So I would say
section.
that if we are talking about the staff that work with the planning board, that it be called staff instead of personnel. But if you would like to eliminate staff at all, then again, it removes that clarification as to what we should do about it.
But we're not really talking about staff here. We're not talking about them. We're talking about us.
So I could think that it could be simplified by striking "or personnel problems"
Yeah.
from this, and then we're clear that we're not talking about personnel management issues.
And the next
Which
thing,
is
and
really-
then it refers to members of the board. So
Right. And it
I,
becomes clear that we're talking about not hiding information from each other.
Right.
okay,
Right.
Tom, it looked like you had something to say.
Yeah, no, I was going to suggest that too.
okay.
Take that out. You could add a new sentence about personnel matters if you wanted to say
No.
personnel matters should be handled through the HR function.
But-
I think it says that somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
And that's
even-
kind of implicit
Yeah, that's.
in how you manage that things there. Anyway, that was the last of my things there, and based on the discussion here, if we agreed to those, I'm all set to just say, go ahead.
Okay. Assuming the edits that we've just discussed, would we like to take a vote on adopting the Littleton Planning Board Code of Conduct? Or I move, we take a vote.
I'll second that.
Okay. Darrell,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
Bartlett?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Town clerk has asked that we just file a copy with her office. So
Okay.
I'll make those corrections and do that. Thank you.
Okay, so the next board business was minutes of prior meetings. Does anyone have comments on the minutes?
I have no comments.
Nope, I'm glad that the July 11th revisions were made, so I'm good
Okay.
on both.
Do I have a motion to adopt the minutes of July? Should we do a motion for each minute, or can we do it?
You can do it as one.
Minutes of July 11th, 2024, and August 1st, 2024.
Second. Or I move it.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Darrell?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Bartlett?
Yes. Yes.
Jeff, yes. Okay. Any bills?
Yes, we have one bill from Innes Associates for work in August on MBTA communities.
This is pushing it through the state bureaucracy.
This is, since you asked, and we have a few minutes, we had heard back from HLC that our application for compliance was complete. And then more recently, we got some detailed questions from HLC. So Cooper and Town Administrator had a meeting, remote meeting with HLC. They described their questions to us, and we were able to provide a written response last Friday. And we expect a response as regarding compliance soon. I'm very confident. Whenever I'm confident, sometimes it's not good, but I'm very confident that we do. Are in compliance with MBTA community's requirements, given the nature of their questions and our positive response to
Okay,
those.
I was going to ask Cooper, what was your feeling about the dealing with them?
Their questions were just, they wanted to make sure we could show that we complied.
Okay. Okay, and we have,
Yeah,
so.
Emily and her team went through a detailed analysis and provided detailed response that, along with input from Ibria, from Harrington Heath. So
Okay.
packaged that together in an email and sent that off to the state.
That was included in our read ahead, right? I thought that was a very good response. I think everybody did an excellent job on putting that together.
Yeah, it was great to have the team to count on to put that together.
Next item.
One comment.
Oh, sure.
So, when I was on the school committee, we streamlined this to allow the chair to sign, and it became part of the consent agenda rather than doing it this way.
We have done that. Well, we have.
Just to, again,
It has come up, and I don't know why I think the last time it was brought up, we decided to all sign. Mark, you were the prior chairman. What was the thinking on that? Or did you find any problem?
I didn't have a problem with it. I think the reason we stopped doing it because members of the board wanted to see the bills as they came in and sign them all.
Okay,
So
so
I have no problem.
let's bring it up to the members of this board. How do we feel about that? Do we all want to review the bills, or can it just be a single signature?
so the procedure that we had adopted there is the bills were available at the meeting, so people could review them to see what they were, but we just went with the chair, was able to sign off on it rather than individual members signing. But they were always available if the members wanted to look at them.
Okay.
and bring up any
how do you
issues
feel
or-
about this?
I still always prefer to know what the town is paying out. I mean, we are responsible for that, so
Okay.
fine take.
The PMBC has us look at each bill individually and vote on it, so I'm used to that procedure and I'm happy with it. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference to me on this board.
Okay. And the difference is we maybe have one or two bills at each meeting, so.
School
Okay.
committee is
So,
like
at
this.
school, I'm sure it was different. Your budget was a little bit bigger than ours. Okay.
I just brought it up.
Thank you.
It's fine.
And I'm happy to hear from the rest of the board about how they feel about it.
You didn't ask me.
Well, I did ask you to, you were the first one I asked.
You just asked me why we were doing it, though. You didn't ask me
Well, how
why.
do you feel about it, Mark?
Uh-oh. No, I'll be nice. No, I don't really care one way or the other.
Okay.
We've got nothing to hide. Myron does a great job putting the bills together and everything else. In the old days, the clerk stamped them and signed them all most of the time.
Yeah, but
when
that stopped
it was
when I
a-
was clerk.
What? Back when I was clerk, we had a stamp. But anyway, it doesn't matter. If you want to have them
So I guess
available at
that's
the meetings unless there's
your
something
role then,
that's time sensitive, it's usually not. So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter. I don't care one way or the other. It's like 2 or 3 bills a month. It's nothing to worry about. Not like the school committee.
Okay. Member update on projects. I can't tell you anything about Northern Bank. It's a mystery what's going on there, which is nothing. Hager Homestead is landscaped and looks really nice.
People are moving in. People are
Mr.
moving in
Chair,
today.
so real quick on Northern Bank, there are questions from residents as to, what is going on. So from a timing standpoint, do we believe it to be predicated on sewer? their advancement
I
predicated on sewer.
think up to recently, it was predicated on the lease of the subway building, which lapsed in June. The other thing I heard was that they hire environmental, demo with environmental considerations, which will be which is how they'll demo the subway building. And then I'm just assuming, even though we heard that they were trying to get permission to use one of the old septics, I'm assuming it is the septic issue, which is, it's progressing up Gray Road right now, and so I don't know. But
Is this something that we could ask or request staff to inquire with
Yeah, we have
Archer's
a-
Bank so that we can have, so, so that we can inquire and see whether or not it's something we can then report out to residents, just so they know.
And what
I heard that they'd hired a construction company, a project manager,
Okay.
they're at least moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're probably waiting for mitigation stuff that they have to do when they knock the buildings down and getting.
Well, they've got all the buildings down except the subway building, which just looks so pitiful.
But I'm sure it's a septic.
So-
Yeah.
Actually, maybe Nick can give us a better update when he comes.
Yeah.
So one thing that I was thinking in terms of these major projects that require our approval is in the approval letter, can we request as a condition of the approval, like a 6-month every 6 month a schedule update for their plans, so that we can perhaps get around this ambiguity of not knowing what they're doing. So just simply having them send us a letter updating their status of their project as part of the approval process. It's obviously you can't do it retroactively to people, but something as we consider moving forward, I think we could look at doing something like that.
It's, it might be worth asking Northern Bank, what's going on, and issue a letter like was issued recently about King Street, 550 King, which was a result of people questioning.
Yep, the town administrator's office is the main point of contact
Okay.
with most of the larger developments. I'll check.
Let's prod them to ask about that.
Yep, I'll ask the question.
At the moment, my street cannot take any more vehicles, period. So I'm glad they're not working. I mean,
Actually, wouldn't it make more sense to ask the building department what the status?
Building department is in flux right now.
Oh. That's not a good thing.
No.
King Street Commons, we had an agenda item to update us on that, and with various other considerations, which has been postponed. 12 Robinson Road.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Real quick on 550 King Street, I appreciate that you mentioned we are not going to be able to have that conversation today after all, but there was something since our last meeting that I wanted to just broach, and that is that when Maren called all of us to inquire about a question related to Lapoli companies, I didn't really like that part of the process, and part of the reason why I didn't like that part of the process is because we were each giving our thoughts on the question to Maren, and then she went off to talk to the applicant to Lapoli companies, and we didn't have an opportunity to really discuss the questions among ourselves and to deliberate. So I would just ask that not take place again in that manner, because I think that it removes us from that process of being able to have the discussions.
I'm not sure, because there was no, this was the type of thing where we will decide whether to open a hearing about the proposed changes. I don't know. I don't know if it's bad to signal to the applicant I don't know. What do we
Well,
think?
I think from that standpoint, if I may, if they were having questions, then they should be coming before us to talk about
Which
those
they
questions.
would have, yeah.
Right, and so they,
I mean, my
those questions
feeling
were asked in
was-
August, and so they could have come to us in August, they could have come to us today, and so they're choosing not to. And so all I'm saying is, the process by which the questions were asked, I just don't appreciate it. I'd rather that they come forward and ask the questions before the board.
Which they will do. I mean, I don't know. I'm not as exercised about that as you are. I don't feel like, there's nothing, we don't know what the proposal is now. Because there is no proposal. There's no, and we would have to open a hearing. We would have to decide whether it is a material change, which I think we would. So, I don't know. Do we have any other comments, board members?
Well, my question when I thought about it was, changing the numbers on those two sites going to change our compliance with the station rules?
These are the things that would come out in a hearing, and they wouldn't because we're only applying 600 to the MBTA Communities Act, and we're not. But whatever, we don't have a proposal. We don't. Was just a, hey, what about this, Daryl? What do you think?
I am mixed on this right now. I'm been thinking about it a little bit there. I understand the need for staff to work with the developers to, make sure that, there's communications there. I get concerned in terms of whether implicit direction is being given or not, or assumed there. So, so technically, since we as a board didn't discuss, the things there, the board didn't provide direction. Marin's provided some direction and inputs there. Her polling board members blurs that a little bit to me on it. But I appreciate also the outreach for communications to make sure that we're aware of what's going on. So that, I'm a little torn on some of this.
I think
One of the, let me just,
Yeah.
I got a couple more comments there. So in my professional job, real work, my company and myself are often in a position that we work closely with the government. We provide a lot of the technical advice and the technical insight, but often it's technically necessary for our government representative to read a statement that while I'm there to provide feedback and other pieces there, direction comes from the government representative. And so, because that way, if I meet with them, talk to them about some certain things, they understand what, it's informational there, but it's not direction. And I think making sure that I understand what kind of conversations are happening and whether we need some formal statement of clarification that Maren is here to help facilitate communication, direction comes from the board, so that there's, no ambiguity about in terms of, well, they came back and say, well, she told us to go do this, and that's what we did, and we, as a board, had never formalized that as direction. And I just want to make sure, I don't know that that's occurred. I don't know of any instances in the past of that's occurred, but that's where my squishiness in the process comes from. And it's like I said, I relate it to what I have to deal with it in my own.
And that's an apt example of what could be done about, and my view is, we don't have the kind of situation here where we have Robert Moses, over here saying, this is what's going to happen, we're going to build this interstate, whatever. It's what we decide. And if Maren, what if Maren said, this, I'll talk to the board, but until we have a hearing, there's nothing, you can't rely on anything. And that's, an applicant has to make a decision about what to request. And planning process is, I just can't imagine an applicant doing a application based on what, and assuming that the board was going to just rubber stamp whatever a planning staff may have said. I mean, it's just, we have no obligation to, follow through with any representations. I guess I think the reason why an applicant would do that is to streamline their process. They don't want to, put something before us that's not going to go anywhere. That's like a reasonable, a reasonable reaction to the time and money involved in these applications. The 550 King is a, specific issue, but I didn't have a problem with that because there was no proposal. There was no hearing. None of this can be done without a hearing where everyone on this board and the public will have a chance to comment on it. So.
Can I give my 2 cents?
Yeah.
First of all, Maren is more than just an administrator. She's the town planner.
Yes.
Most of the time, people come to her because she's got an office, she's here all the time, and they come in with questions. Okay, Maren has a good gauge of what this board does and doesn't do. She's been with us for 30-something years. If you can't rely on Maren making sure that you're going to keep an applicant on the straight now, then we have a problem. Most of the time, people come in, they don't have a chance to talk to us, and they don't have 6 weeks between meetings or whatever it is to start formulating their answers. So they come to Maren and Cooper and ask their opinions of, will this work? And they go to town administrator. This 550 is the selectmen have been weighing in on this with the state and everything else, so they're trying to get an idea of what to do. If I'm remembering correctly, we're the ones who asked the question about for sale units and things like that, that opened up Pandora's box that we're talking about now. And if anyone has the answers who has watched this board, it's Maren. So Maren should be the place where they start. Nothing's going to get decided until they come before us anyway, but at least Maren has the ability to steer them in the right direction. So I think it should stay there. And the other issue that I have is Maren's going to be here long after we're all gone. I hope she's going to be here. She's the one who administrates.
Or at least past 7:35.
She's the one who administrates everything that happens here, so, I'm running late. I'm shooting myself.
Move it along.
I'm just saying, Maren is the keys to the kingdom is right there. And we should rely on her to use her expert judgment. She's been here 30 years. 5 years? 4 years?
So
So I guess what I'd like to say is I'm not saying that we remove that role, because that's a critical role there. It's relative to making sure that after the discussions, the people walking away this is the sense of where we are today, how we've been administering it with 35 years of history, and how typically move along, and what makes it better to move forward. They have to know, though, the final decision rests with the board, and it.
I'll give you a perfect. I'll give you a
but
perfect.
that's implicit in the whole apparatus
I'll
we
give
have.
you a perfect example of that. At 7:35 tonight, the marijuana facility is coming before us to talk about expanding their hours, a lousy 3 hours. Maren asked me my opinion on it. I said, Maren, I think you can handle it. You've been at it so long, everything else. Where is it? It's on our agenda, so you guys have a chance to talk about it, because Maren is making sure that she sussed it all out. It should take 5 minutes, but it's in front of all of us. That's what she does, and she does a great job at it. That's all I'm trying to say.
Right, but that didn't happen.
What?
But that didn't happen during the discussion that she asked all of us about.
I know, and the
And so my point is just that the way that the cannabis question was, or the cannabis topic was brought up, like what you just said, that's what it should have happened here as well. And if they
I don't
catch us in,
think
and
so.
if they
Oh,
catch
but-
us, and if they catch us in between timing of our meetings, then perhaps have a quick Zoom call with all of us. I mean, it depends on how important the topic is to the
I don't
applicant.
think it was that important, that's my point. Nor do I
Really?
think the cannabis thing was that
Okay.
important.
This is, I think that there's no proposal here.
There's nothing.
There's not, I mean, you're acting like something's gonna happen without our without our board process.
You're
There's not,
making a bigger deal out of, nothing happened, nobody's before us, there was no proposal. There was going to be a discussion. That's all it was ever going to be. And they wanted an idea before they came in, so they could figure out what we wanted, so that they could come in and give us information about what we wanted. It didn't happen, they're not before us, so. Just like I said, 3 hours, we're gonna meet for 5 minutes to talk about something that Maren could have decided, but decided to make sure the board had input on it. She does a great job at it, and I don't think we should be worrying about people discussing issues with Maren. I think we should leave it just as it is, and if Maren feels it's important enough to bring it before the board, she'll schedule it. That's
Thank
all
you
I
for
have
the
to say.
discussion, Mr. Chair.
actually, yeah, thank
So-
you for bringing that up.
so,
It would not have occurred to me, but I understand where your concerns come from, but I assure you, there will be nothing happening at 550 King without the board
Presentations.
hearings, public, the whole thing.
So, for any folks who are out on Facebook and understand what the issues are that are coming up, it keeps getting asked, when are we going to hear the plan for the traffic for 550 King Street? And I understand there's a traffic report that will come at some point. But I would like it to be very clear so that if anybody is watching, they can understand that the traffic in the common, what is and isn't our responsibility. I think we had this discussion like 6 months ago, because if it's not us, then who is it? Is it the highway department?
MIPA.
So is it,
Simple word,
who
MIPA.
from the town connects to MIPA?
We,
Everybody that cares to.
everyone.
It's a
It's a
public
MIPA
input
process, Anna.
process.
Everything. We'll all have input in it, the department, the highway department, select board, everyone will have input into the MIPA process. It's a MIPA process. It's not a town of Littleton process. So we have no jurisdiction to it, we have input to it, that's all we get. We get to look at the front door mitigation, that's all we get to look at, and give our opinions on it.
At
But
the
it's
front door mitigation of,
getting in and out of the building as they get on and off the roads. That's called front door mitigation. That's what we get to look at. MIPA is, correct me if I'm wrong, the state
It's a
oversees.
state road.
State road, the state oversees MIPA, we do. So putting it out there on Facebook and stirring it all up doesn't do us any good because we have no control over it.
And I've seen, at the time when the point was permitted, or whomever, the highway department, did some truly horrific renderings of what could happen to the common if we let traffic engineers decide for us.
Can we move on, I guess, get out of here?
Yes.
Hey,
please stop. Stop
you're
with the
asking-
whole.
Anna, you're asking questions that we've discussed
I'm
10
asking
times
questions
already.
that keep coming up in the public domain, and we should provide answers
We
to the
have
best of
given
our
answers.
abilities.
Hey,
We
stop,
have given
both
answers.
of you.
We have given answers. It's a MIPA process.
Anna, okay,
Chair,
so
thank
you're
you.
talking about traffic.
Talking about traffic, just want to make
Okay.
sure that the public at large understand whose responsibility it is to tee up those discussions, and what I'm hearing from Vice Chair Montanari is that MIPA is the entity that will do that, and that public comment will be opened up. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, there will be, correct me if I'm wrong, but site plan review for every aspect of this will be available for public comment.
The site plan is the local process for each section of development,
Right.
phase of development, so yes.
Yeah.
And that's
And
in
there,
front of the
there,
planning
of
board.
course, is a question about how that all works together. But anyway, so is there anything else?
That's what I had on there.
Okay.
Thank you.
12 Robinson is looking great. Town newsletter. Have we made any contributions to the town newsletter?
Yes.
No. Okay, I haven't. Is there anyone interested in making contributions to the town newsletter? We'll just keep that on the board business. And then we have 245 Foster Street. Is there anything, any more?
I have an update on 245 Foster Street.
Okay.
Mr. Doherty, I think his name is Doherty, Jake.
Yes.
Has withdrawn his application for 245 Foster Street and given the property back to the Longs, so they now have it. And my understanding is that they're pursuing the definitive of the industrial plan that the preliminary that they filed, or they're going to at some point. I think they've had enough of the residential component and just want to do what's allowed there. I don't know that for a fact, but I do know that they got it back. So it's no longer talking about senior housing or affordable housing or anything else there. It's going to be an industrial site.
So, item E, the special permit application forms for firearms business. Did anyone have any comments on those? I didn't. Have we had any filing at all for those
No.
since we did the bylaw?
No filings, but it's wonderful having assistant town planner and a department assistant. And they put their heads together, they can
We have a
do some of
reduction, right? We have a reduction in the amount of,
in the number of businesses.
I heard.
Mr. Chair, I do have a few comments.
Sure.
Okay. So, on the, it's called the updated Form 1. And yes, thank you for the work put into these. So adult uses, and I don't know if it's because of the zoning bylaws being out on the electronic format. What is that called? Whatever it's called. So adult uses goes from 173 to 203, not just 202. So on that particular application form, the citations for, there you go, yep. Go to 203, not just 202. The firearms business, the December form, so we saw these back in December, and that form listed the citation as 173-235 through 246, and now it just lists the one single one, so I think it needs to be the full citation. It starts at 235 and goes through 246. Registered marijuana is 186-193, not 85 to 92. And then the VC district plus Aquifer Water Resource District, again, adding the full citation of 173, 215 through 225 instead of just the one single one, because otherwise it misses the whole component. Any questions on those? Will those changes be made?
We'll check the sections, yes.
Okay.
Can we, what is the process that we need to do? Do we approve them? Is this an administrative
We'll just
thing?
Push it till next.
Okay.
Be happy to make those changes
Okay.
and bring them back if you prefer.
Great, that's fine. Okay.
And then on the next form, unless somebody has any others on that one. So we have a firearms checklist and then a firearm for 1J, and it looks a lot the same. So I was just wondering why we have two forms that look the same.
Yeah, we had this conversation. In the past, the planning board members have often taken a checklist and used a checklist to mark your comments on the applicant's version of it. It's an optional form.
So the checklist is for us.
Yeah, for the board to use.
Okay, all
Not for
right.
the applicant.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you. And then,
And could certainly not have that if it's confusing.
then based off of our bylaw for the firearms businesses, the checklist, and again, this is for us, so you guys, chime in here. So it says that federal, state, and local licenses need to be in hand, basically. So who checks those licenses? Because it's not us.
Police department?
The influx building commissioner.
Water department?
I guess
Yes, we should-
would the board be looking for assurances that those are?
The state police and the town police check into those licenses.
Okay.
So would the board at that point be looking for information from the local police department on
Yeah,
that?
it should be the process that
Probably
these
should have a-
applications go to, in the same way that
The
we.
process,
Yeah.
the applications
We
do
should
go
probably
to
have a letter
police.
from the police chief that they check the licenses
Just like we
or
do
something.
with all the other.
Oh, I like that.
Right, like for the
Yeah.
liquor licenses and
Right.
stuff
Okay.
that they
So-
do for the select board.
So somewhere then, I guess on that, we need to have something that's added for the licenses. Also for our checklist, 173-239B, add security plan, so we can check that off. 239C, add to meet with the planning board. And then I asked, does a no accessory language need its own checkbox? So I was just going down the list. So those are the things that I felt would make that complete.
So we'll be able to adopt them at the next meeting.
Well, yeah, we can make those updates.
Great, thank you.
The good news is Lucia will be back from vacation.
Okay. The next item is public input, and we're running late, and I'm looking, I know what you folks are here for, I know what you're here for, so I'm assuming that there's no one at this time who needs to talk about something that isn't agended. At 7 o'clock, we're opening a continued public hearing for the zoning bylaw amendment relating to registered marijuana dispensaries, adult use marijuana establishments. We're removing outdated provisions, meet current state regulations, and limit the number of marijuana cultivation facilities that may be sited in town. And so I brought up tomorrow, the Cannabis Control Board is in significant disarray. And I said, well, do we want to do this now? Tom?
Yes.
Okay. But the main goal of this, in addition to conforming our bylaw to the state regulations, is to put in place at special town meeting a revised bylaw that will limit the cultivation sites in town. So, we have been at this for some months. We have a 10-page, tiny little spaced thing, and it's more or less final. And are there any final comments that people had on it?
I had just a few. It's
Okay.
more to.
One of the main things we added from last meeting was the odor control, which I think is, given that this is the main problem with cultivation sites, was definitely appropriate.
So I do appreciate all the work.
Yeah. Tom Harrington is our town council.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, so, last time on the August 1st version, it did not include craft marijuana cooperatives, and now it's back. And I just wanted to confirm, why is it back again? I think we had this conversation,
We did have this,
and so I just wanted to confirm, it should be on here.
should be there.
Okay, All right, that's all I needed to hear. I just want to make sure it wasn't a typo from
No.
a previous version.
No, and in fact, I'll just, 30 seconds.
Sure.
So we are pretty much down to, I think, the last strokes of this. And one of our kind of main marching orders was to get together with the health agent and with Marin and with Cooper to see if the health agent had some ideas on odor control that we could implement in here. And kind of the corollary to that was for us to take a look at the sanctuary permit to see if there was some ideas in there that we could incorporate in here. And so I think what we've incorporated, and there's only one change, and I went away from the red line version, so you guys weren't looking at, like an
Yes.
electrical map.
Yeah.
And so the only change is on page 4, and I put it in highlight.
Yes.
And that adds in the idea that an odor control plan incorporates the best available control technology to ensure that emissions does not violate 111 and 173-200J. So I think that language is more strident than what is in the sanctuary permit. And in our conversations with health agent, he didn't have any great ideas for specific language to build in.
So what we found on those hearings were, we got a big education on odor control, and there was, there is advancing technology,
Right.
and we should not put something in here that relates to whatever technology is used now. But
We agree.
since it's the basis for almost every complaint that we've had for about grow facilities, to reference in here is totally appropriate. We were able to, require conditions for sanctuary, and anyway, so are we all set?
I agree with that being added in, and I appreciate it. I had one question, and that is when MGL Chapter 111 was cited, which is public health.
Yeah.
It was cited as the entire chapter, or as the entire, chapter, even
Yep.
though there are 244
Sections,
sections.
right.
So it can be any one of those sections that are violated from public health?
Why go narrow when we can go broad? Yeah, it's.
Okay.
It gives
It
you,
just surprised me that it was so broad that, okay.
yeah, that's
all right.
that's the public health.
You're just making
statute.
work for yourself, that's all.
Cut it out, Jeff.
Okay, it's going
I think it
broad.
gives us the most flexibility for unanticipated things
It
that we
does.
don't really understand
Yeah.
at this
And-
point. And we can use the whole law
Yeah,
as
it's-
the framework for the
it's-
discussion.
yeah, it's meant to be-
I'm on board with
Okay,
that.
I just thought there was maybe something missing at the
No,
end
no,
of
no.
that citation.
I wasn't kidding when I said why go narrow when we can go broad. It gives
Okay.
you more authority.
right.
But I think the best available control technologies is the key, because we don't want to get locked into technology. We want to see what's out there. We want to see what's available to solve the problems that we want to solve. And I think this does give the board a lot of authority, flexibility, and leeway in trying to accomplish what I know you're trying to accomplish.
So, that being said, at this meeting, I'd like to have a motion to vote to recommend this to, are you?
Mr. Chair, well, hold on, because we also had the map.
Well, I had some comments about the map.
Yeah, so, my two comments are, A, I appreciate that we did merge the two maps to try to create one. I just wanted to point out that the two little pieces coming off of, like, the point area is Russell Street, I believe, and maybe even,
It's one side of Russell Street.
yes, exactly. Those two little things that stick out, maybe we just remove them if possible, because that is all residential, and then the other places would be over by the train station, because when the original overlay district was there, that was a tree farm, as I understand, and now we have residential there, so.
So these were based on zoning boundaries?
So the proposed district, the crosshatched one, the dated August 16th, 2024 on the top. Yep, so that's industrial.
Yeah, that one.
That's industrial A district except, and the police department site, except for some industrial A that's off of Newtown Road. And that's similar to the retail district, but not exactly the same because we've had some changes to the industrial A district, recalling that 550 King Street was recently rezoned from part of it being industrial A to being the King Street Common District. So King Street Common shows up on the retail map and doesn't show up on this proposed map. You have the option of amending this map before you get to town meeting floor. So,
Yeah.
My comment was on the overlay district retail. It came up when Sanctuary was looking for a site that the town common is actually a park, and so that there's a 500-foot buffer. This does not, I realize that this is based on zoning.
zoning.
Yeah.
strictly.
So I just want to verify that these other requirements are not subsumed by this map.
Right, the process would be that an applicant would come in with a proposed site, and the planning board would go and provide the information on distance to parks and daycare facilities, et cetera, at the time of the application. So,
Just like we did with Collaborative. They came in based on the map, and then
You're right, it was collaborative, not sanctuary, yeah, yeah.
so did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, it doesn't reflect on the map, but I just want to know that the map and the bylaw work together. And, I mean, I understand your process was just taking the zoning, anyway, so that's all.
Yeah, so when I looked at this map, I assumed that that's what you were doing, is taking what was already in place and converging it down based on the discussions there, and that we weren't opening a discussion about changing the overlay districts.
Or change, or looking at
In
specific.
terms of substantive changes to the existing districts, this is almost in my mind, an administrative consolidation.
Which is why that's the whole point of this.
Yeah.
This
But-
special town meeting thing, yeah.
But the reason I bring it up is because that little extension that goes all the way down Russell Street towards the school, when I was on the school committee and I saw this, the school committee didn't have input as to why are we building or allowing marijuana distribution on the road that leads to the school.
That's a good point.
But I didn't want to bring that up at this point because I thought this was an administrative convergence of existing zoning, of existing districts, not bulk discussion about the districts themselves there. But I would like to maybe put that as a future topic.
Why can't we change it now?
Well,
we don't,
that sounds like to be a much more involved process because we haven't had a public hearing on that particular type of topic. That seems to me, I'm bringing it up not to change it tonight. I want to maybe cue that up for
Well,
a future
we
discussion.
will have, since we will have a goal at the Springtown
Springtown
meeting to
meeting.
eliminate any more cultivation whatsoever, we can do that at this time.
are we losing sight of the fact that what we're trying to do is get rid of any other cultivation sites? So the map, all this other stuff is gonna go by the wayside in another two town meetings. We're not gonna allow it anywhere.
Well, but these maps also relate to retail.
And we only have
We have one more,
a potential
a
license.
potential,
going on.
I mean, there could be a that corner
But
could
the-
be.
But the basic concern of this whole thing has been the growing of it, not the retail
True,
facilities.
but
That's
we're-
all we're trying to restrict.
We are trying, we will do that, and we will conform our bylaw to the state regulations.
But we already have a second site already approved. So our biggest concern is the growing of it. And if we,
Yep.
everything we're doing, changing the maps and everything, doesn't matter because we're getting rid of it. Starting in November and then finishing in April.
So that being said, can we Do we have any more discussion on the maps? Can we then recommend a vote to recommend this to town
Okay,
meeting?
just want to make sure that the way the bylaw amendment is written now, the retail district will remain the same as it was when it was adopted in 2018, and that's reflected up there. And then this new district is all other adult uses plus all, what am I trying to say? The registered medical uses except for cultivation. Right.
Okay.
And that'll be the new district.
So, can I hear a motion to vote to recommend to town meeting
So
this
we should
zoning
first
bylaw?
Close the,
close the hearing.
Okay.
If
Can I
there's
have
no-
a motion to close the hearing?
motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Aye. Mark? Okay. Now, can I have a motion to recommend to town meeting the proposed marijuana bylaw that has been prepared for the town and its related maps?
I make a motion that we move forward to town meeting with the revised bylaw.
Second.
Aye.
Anna?
I still disagree with everybody that I think this is an opportunity to change the maps appropriately, but seeing as it's not something that you all want to do, you want to keep them as is, so. Then yes.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
So that moves it forward to town meeting
Yes.
floor. Can I presume that your report to town meeting would be that you
Yes.
support?
We support this.
I assume one of the other steps that will happen within the next few weeks is they usually send out some kind of little summary of this, and I saw in the webpage here, you have like a paragraph describing our two-step approach, so I assume that one of the next steps is somebody is gonna draft what that little paragraph description of the piece is here, because I say you got a nice start of it in what you have on the webpage here.
So that happens in the town meeting booklet. It'll
Yeah,
have the
that's what it's called.
right. It'll have the warrant article, and it'll have a brief description, and we'll be describing just what's in this one. If you want additional information about what you might do at a future town meeting, that would be a separate.
Yeah, I personally don't think that that's necessary for this part. I just want to make, get the empower, I'm viewing that you're probably putting that together, right?
That for the zoning, yes.
Because I'm new to this part of the process there.
Okay, we're a little late. Thank you, Tom. We're a little late. Next up is Town Sewer with Nick Lawler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a quorum here, so I just want to make sure that we open our meeting properly.
We have a quorum, so
So, quorum of the Water Commission's here as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that was him opening it for us. So, Maureen had asked us, I think a couple months ago, to come in here and just be a good opportunity to update the community and the planning board on the progress of the sewer project, and also talk about capacity issues that I think we've been discussing for a couple of years now, but probably is a prudent time to get back in front of you. I intend for this to be extremely informal and more informative. So my thoughts, I'll give you a quick update on the project.
Sure.
Talk about capacity constraints. But if there's any questions, please, this is a great time to get them out. I do commend both the planning board. I know Anna and Mark have been part of a lot of meetings, and Maren as well. So your partnership in this project has been crucial. So we appreciate that. One part of the project is extremely visible, right? All the work on the roads. Hopefully, they're hoping to finish that part of the project late fall, early winter. The state has a cutoff, typically November 15th, for working state roads. It's highly weather dependent, but sometimes they're stringent on those dates anyway, even if there's no weather. Which happened last year. Last year, they got shut down off state roads right around November 15th. So we anticipate that Rivoli will be shut down around then. Most their hard work is done. They have a little more work to do on Great Road because that line extends to Dunkin' Donuts, right past Oppershon's.
Oh, really?
All the way down.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
what I wasn't sure.
Yeah, and then all the way up to Acton Medical on the King Street side going towards Westford. Where they are right now are some of the toughest digs. Is why it seems like it's taking forever because the depths are quite extensive. You know, they're at 20 to 30 feet down. Because
Seriously?
because of the
Wow.
topography and slope of the pipe that's needed. 'Cause it's mostly a gravity-fed system.
Is that on Great Road it's that deep, or is it King?
No, King Street.
Yeah, yeah.
King Street. Great Road, the issue they run into there is more, there's a lot of stuff on the roads. So they're just trying to, and they're doing a good job. I know that Rivoli gets a bad rap in this town, but they're actually doing a pretty good job for the most part. It doesn't mean there's no issues, but they're managing a lot of conflicts in that road. As they did, especially on Great Road. There's a lot of services, a lot of gas, multiple water lines. And, you know, they're deep there as well. It's not as King Street is really deep. That part of that project was also the pump station. So there's a pump station at the high school that now pumps sewage from the high school to the treatment plant at 242 King Street. It's in the same spot that the existing treatment plant was at. So that's being renovated. Rivoli's responsible for that part of the project. And also upgrading the pump station at the middle school. And the middle school pump station is complete for the most part. There's some instrumentation that has to happen. That's actually online right now and running. And the high school is slightly delayed, but not delayed to the point where it's going to impact schedule. And again, that's a smaller piece of the puzzle. So we're thinking hopefully mid-November for the most part. Most of that work is done. So the way state paving works is they have to settle and be temporary paved for 3 months before they can do final paving. So there will be final paving that has to happen in the spring. Basically whatever they're doing now, they won't have enough time to settle and be ready for final paving. So some of that pavement will have to wait until the springtime. So that should be the final pieces of that project. Will come spring, they'll be back doing finished paving. Any questions on Rivoli's piece before I jump to Methuen?
Well, since they're working all night, basically in front of my house, they work pretty hard.
Yeah.
I mean, sadly, we can hear them all night, but,
I know, yeah.
you know, it won't be forever.
We
Yeah.
are extremely appreciative of the
Yeah.
impact to the residents for this project. The night work this is big machines, it's loud, lots of lights, impact was to the roads, and it's a disruptive project for sure. Yep.
Just one question on the roads. I understand about the settling, because usually they need to settle over a bit of time there, but as it settles, and then the ruts become deeper over the winter, who and what the process is to make sure that those are attended to?
Yep. So we're always responsible for that, but please let us know. You can let me know directly at the Light and Water Department. They've been pretty responsive to those issues, even throughout the winter. Last winter, they came out and fixed a few. So if there's specific issues that we have, just let me know. We'll relay that message to Rivoli. And
It's mainly in terms of if anybody's actually watching our thing here, for the public to also
Yep.
understand there's a process.
Absolutely.
That we don't just watch the gully get
Yep.
deeper all
Yeah,
winter.
please communicate that directly with us, and we'll
Okay.
communicate with Rivoli. Yep.
So, Nick, the big question is the construction of the water resource recovery facility. How's that going? It looks
going-
like they've started.
Yeah, it's actually starting to look like a site, right?
Okay, yeah.
So the first year of that project was basically digging a hole and pouring cement, which was a lot of work, but it didn't seem like they were doing much. But that project's on schedule. We anticipate startup for that project to probably start, I would say, March, April of 2000. Yeah, starting up the pumps, all the processes, make sure things are working the way we think they're going to work. We do that first with clean water, right? Because you don't want to do that with wastewater. So there'll be a startup process in place to make sure that everything's operating the way we expect it to. DEP is a big part of the process, right? Because the Department of Environmental Protection wants to make sure that things are working before we start treating sewage. So we're hoping March, April, in that time frame, that
Of next year, or 26?
25.
25?
Yep.
Okay.
And we're anticipating June, they're done, and it's turned over. But I would caution that and say, and we saw at Wickham Ave, water treatment plant, things happen during startup, so I would say fall is a safe thing to guess, to wait for. But it could be as early as June. I mean, it's not an overly complicated plan. So we're hopeful that between June and September, that plant's online, and we're moving sewage.
And this is what you're telling the various projects that are
Yes,
basically
yep.
linked to this
Yeah,
project.
yeah, I mean, I think Daryl had mentioned, he caught on our website that we didn't have up-to-date master schedules. We had very good two-week schedules. Our website now has the master schedules on there. Yep. So our master schedules are online. There's a few known projects, Northern Bank, for instance, very active in their process. They've been communicating directly with us.
Well, can you tell us what they're saying about?
Well, they're not telling us what they're doing. They're just asking us what
They're
we're
just
doing.
asking what
Yeah.
you're doing, okay.
Yeah, and same with the Poli companies have been
Yeah.
in contact with our progress. They don't really tell us what they're doing.
So what's your, so you think September 25 is when
Yep.
you'll declare that it's ready for hookups?
Yep, yep. And we want, to us, the sooner we get that online, the better. Okay,
I'm
'cause
just
the-
using the outside
Yeah.
date that you gave.
Yeah, because as soon as we can start accepting flow, now we can start covering our operating costs and start becoming solvent.
So I notice, like on Great Road, you're putting in the stems from the main, and how do they terminate? Do they terminate at the property line, or how do they, yeah?
For the service connections?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, so we go into the property line, we leave a connection point for every property. We did have a few, because remember, this was an opt-in, opt-out for
Right.
residential customers. When we inherited from the select board, that was where legislation was written. There was only, I think, don't quote me the exact number, but there was like 3 or 4 residents that opted out. But even for those residents, we left the connection point.
Okay, I mean, that's,
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
Well, you don't want to cut the road later.
Or cut into an active sewer pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, after they do the repaving, after you get it all done
Yeah,
there.
so, yeah, every property we pass, we're trying to think for the future. Even the infrastructure in the ground is made for the full-term vision of the sewer.
on Northern Banks project, are you, because I'm thinking about how that's organized, are you putting stems for each building, or how does that work?
No,
Just
but
one?
we've coordinated their connection directly with them.
Okay,
So they have what they need to do their project.
okay. The next question people are wondering about is capacity.
Yep. Yeah, everyone is, right. I think last time I was here, we had about 30 people.
Well, the
on
more
class.
capacity you have, the more proposals we'll have into.
Yeah, so capacity is tricky, and I hate to say it, but there's no home runs for us out there. There might be a few singles of expanding it. And we'll keep chasing those down. It's not a today problem, but it's definitely, I would say, 10-year problem, which is right around the corner, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing we're gonna do, and I think we talked about this before, but for those that maybe weren't listening, I'll say it again. The high school discharge site that we have now, that we've been discharging at for 20-plus years, is permitted for 241,000 gallons per day, which is enough to do the existing load in the common, enough to do the town resources, and enough to do 150,000 gallons at 550 King Street, or the mill, however he decides to utilize that 150,000 gallons per day, which is not enough for the Poli companies. I think they requested, I forget what it was, but it was a lot more than that, another 150,000 gallons per day he needed to do everything. The commissioners had denied that, because they were trying to balance funding and getting this project built, but also serving the needs of the community. Which was not an easy thing to do, because as you guys know, this was a $45 to $50 million project, which was extremely tough to get off the ground. So we believe, and again, this started with the select board, they actually did the first hydrogeological model for the high school site, which basically tells you from a modeling standpoint what can be discharged in the ground up there. And they used Weston and Sampson at the time to do that model. Very good firm, very good hydrogeologist that did that. And I think at the time he thought that site was good for 300,000, maybe 318,000 gallons per day. DEP didn't agree, because they wanted to see real flows, real numbers, and they're conservative. That's the nature of regulators, right? They're
You're saying the study was modeling, it wasn't an actual...
Well, there was some flow, right, because we had, whatever it was, 15,000 gallons a day, they had monitoring wells, they were monitoring what they could, but there wasn't enough volume getting pushed into that site for them to be confident in the 300,000 plus per day. But the model shows that, we believe the model is correct.
They want to see flow at 241.
They want to
Before they would
they want to
say-
see significant flow, and I'll get
Before
to
they
that.
would
Yeah.
get you up to
Yep.
those numbers.
So we've been working with them really since the businesses and the folks in the common expressed concerns, right? There was a lot of concerns that came out that they felt forgotten, which they weren't, but I could understand where they were coming from. Because at the end of the day, if we didn't incorporate the needs of 550 King Street, this project was not affordable to anybody. And the REUs, so one REU is basically a residential house that right now are costing $40,000 per REU. We're up over $200,000 per REU. So it wasn't economical for anybody, the town, a resident, a business. It would have caused a lot of heartache. So the 550 King Street project solved that problem financially. But it potentially could cut off the needs of the rest of the common. So the board was extremely concerned about that because, they believe in the master plan. They believe in serving the small businesses that have built the common to what it is. So they encouraged us to quickly look at expanding that discharge site with DEP to see what we could do. So we've been talking with DEP for probably over a year now on how to do that. We developed what they call an infiltration test. And it's bringing 200,000 gallons a day, probably for about two months, to that site, and then going to those monitoring wells and seeing how water behaves underground. And then they can fine-tune that model and confirm things that we think are true. Doesn't mean they're going to be true, but it's what the model believes is to be true as of today. So we're hopeful. We're going to start that in October. And we're hopeful that, come end of this year, we'll have the data that supports a 300,000 gallon per day discharge at the high school site, with very minimal work to be done. It's really, most of it, can the ground handle that much water? There might be some additional piping, we don't know yet, but hopefully it's minimal. Could we just dug that up and put that in?
So by this time next year, you'll have an operating sewer system, but you will continue to pursue additional capacity.
Yep, so by this time next year, I'm hoping to have an operating sewer system, and I'm hoping that we have the answer to that first question. At which time, I know our board's committed to serving the needs of the common, the businesses of the common first. I think we'll be a little bit more methodical, because we have the ability to be with how we fill those needs. So I think it'll be a joint process with you folks, some period of time where we open up in an application period, let the people in the common know about it, communicate this to the businesses in the common, give them time to engineer, their properties, and then maybe between the planning board and the commissioners, we can figure out what makes sense moving forward. But 60,000 gallons per day should be enough to fulfill all the needs in the common area. I think our engineers predicted maybe needing about 40,000 gallons per day, so it should be enough to fulfill the master plan and give everybody what they need to.
Well, even the Foley, talks about their project as being a 10-year to 12-year project.
Yep.
And so.
But he wants more discharge today.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, so that's really.
Developers are their job is to push,
Yep.
so, yeah.
Yep. So that would be the next phase of it. So as part of evaluating the discharge site, we did a high-level GIS analysis with Weston and Sampson on the whole community, similar to when we bought the site for the treatment plant. It was a whole community look. We did the same thing with the discharge site. And again, there's no home runs. There's no piece of property that we could say, that's it. Let's go buy that piece of land. There's 500,000 gallons discharge. That doesn't exist. But there are potential sites. And we're gonna start doing, because GIS analysis is one thing, and actually GIS analysis on the high school site shows that's not a good site. But we know it is. So it's not a perfect science, but they've identified, 5 properties that we should do soil borings at and do some further analysis. So hopefully one of those comes back and maybe it's 200,000 gallons a day, maybe it's 300,000 gallons a day. But another one of those sites would be enough to keep that ball rolling and keep, building out that infrastructure. Remember, the plant's good for over 500,000 gallons a day, so discharge site right now is our limiting factor.
Even though, I guess, mainly because of my history on the school committee, what's the school committee's involvement in your updates and things there since they occupy that site and we have a school there that
They're
bringing it up to capacity and
Yep.
it possibly failing could
tremendous partner.
tremendous impact. Just want to
Yep,
make
and
sure.
they've been, they're involved heavily in our, we get our communications quite often,
Okay.
and they're on that loop, and they've been a tremendous partner to the whole project.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. And I, as a citizen, this has been, how many years? 20?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. And to have it come to, close to completion.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people that have worked on this over, like
Yeah.
you said, 2
No, I know
decades.
there were a lot of iterations.
Yep.
And anyway.
Will there be any sort of, we'll call, celebration to say it's done?
I'm not really,
Hey, sewage.
I'm not really a celebrating type of guy, but yeah, we can do one. Yeah. You want to flush the first toilet?
You might want to ask one of the residents who's been, having
Put a
to be
big toilet on the
staying up.
common. And
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I mean, I
we-
think it is a huge impact for the town,
Yeah.
economically, and brings us into the 21st century. So, to the degree that there can be a real positive outlook on it, I think would be really good.
Yep, yeah, we'll look at one. We did one at Wickham Ave in memory of Meg Frazier, which was a special day for us. We'll do one at Cedar Hill this Saturday for the neighbor, because that project was amazing to me. We built a water storage tank in the middle of a very tight neighborhood,
Yeah.
and we didn't get one complaint. And that's how good this community is. So Billy Pizza 11 to 1 up at Long Lake neighborhood for those that are interested.
Well, and to the point of, asking residents to participate in any sort of celebration, if you will, the residents who had to deal with this on Russell Street, the residents on Robinson Road,
Yep.
and, other places, I think they'd really appreciate the acknowledgement
Yep.
that they had to suffer through this.
No, that's a good point. Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Have a
Thank
good
you for
night.
coming. Thank you all for
Thank
coming.
you.
Questions on the bottom?
Afterwards tonight, or?
Just in like in a minute.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna close now, right?
Yeah,
No,
I'll come
we-
back.
Yeah, great.
Okay, we have one discussion about the Cannabis Collective additional 3 hours.
I didn't have any problem with that.
Good.
Bartlett? I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Okay. So we're fine.
Make a motion to accept the modified work hours.
Yeah, I think we asked them before, we did not have a hearing on it, we just approved it, so. Okay, that being done, we are ready for adjournment, can I have?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
I was gonna say, Mark, you're not quick on that second there.
I'm texting, I'm walking out the door.
Aye.
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 Anna?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.